very excited to have with us a fabulous photographer who's really well known in the entertainment industry with offices in both LA as well as New York, and a very dear friend who introduced me to the Lavender Margarita, when we were in LA as well, our dear friend Paul Gregory. Hi, Paul. How are you?
I'm great.
Good. How's fabulous LA treating you?
Good. Quarantine like everybody else, but uh, doing our best. We're doing great.
Well, I'm glad that we're doing very well. One of the reasons that we are so excited to have you with us is Vince and I did this to really get the talent that we represent and other talent that's interested in us representing them as well, to kind of give them advice on the entertainment industry, what's happening, especially right now during the times of quarantine, because a lot of people are reinventing themselves while they're at home. And I know we talked a little bit about that when we were off site. But one of the things that I want to get everybody to get to know about you as well is your amazing career. You started out, that you thought you were going to be an actor. And so you have that experience as well because you went to study in theater. And then what you ended up studying as well, which I thought was really interesting, was a whole aspect of you then discovered makeup and hair and styling. So tell us a little bit about that trajectory.
Yeah, that was it was really interesting, and I was very lucky back then. But I had I was a theater major, and you had to join a technical crew. You didn't get any credit for it, but you had to.
Uh-huh.
And I used to like to draw people, and
Mm.
I started painting portraits. I
Oh,
don't even know if I mentioned that on my website, but I started painting portraits. So I literally started doing makeup because I'm like, well, I already paint faces, so it's going to be easy. So my motivation was that it would be easy, which, like a lot of young people, want to do something that's sort of a natural flow that's generally less work. Nobody
right.
wants to work hard. So I started it, and it turned out that we had um, the head of the makeup department was actually a hairstylist for Sassoon, which at the time was
Uh-huh.
the biggest. And he'd also do makeup. So he was the main guy. So he was the one who trained me.
Wow.
And our objective with makeup in the theater company, it was not just to make people pretty, but to put them in character.
Right.
So I learned how to do makeup that was not just pretty makeup. Like this girl is aristocratic, or this girl is the girl that doesn't get the guy, or this girl is dangerous, or so
Right.
it was gearing their hair and makeup to their character. And then it's
Right.
the same thing with I didn't do wardrobe, but it was that same thing of watching how everything fell in line. The hair, the makeup, the wardrobe, and then of course the story, the what's
Right.
going on with the person to create the whole package. And then I'm done now because that's all we have to talk about.
Yeah.
But but that's it. We're creating a story and a package.
And and I think that that's so relevant right now because I think I loved your website, by the way.
Oh,
And
thank
in a little bit, we'll talk a little bit about who you've taken pictures of. But going back to the technicalities that you were saying, I loved when you spoke about and then you give tips on what a headshot is. And one of the things that Vince, I know you and I've talked about it, if you want to reiterate this again, but how we're going back to a different Hollywood right now. So
We
casting directors need different characters. Going back to what he was saying was his talent
right.
creating that person in that headshot.
No, no, totally true. Like I was on the phone yesterday with a casting associate who we're going to have on next week, and he was telling me that everything's going to go online. The days of going to casting office are going to change, at least probably for this year.
Right.
So everything's going to be online, and me myself, I'm starting a school to teach people how to do um, auditions. To do them better because that's going to be your ticket in.
Right.
And yeah, so things are changing. Things are changing, and the beautiful thing about Paul, I've known him for a while. He adapts to everything, and in LA, we have different types of photographers. You got the edgy, the raw. Paul is known to be more of a Renaissance romantic photographer. If
Mhm.
you want to get the essence of your actors, he captures that essence of the actor.
Well,
And he's very good at it. I was recommended to him by a studio executive 20 years ago when I was looking for a photographer. And he came highly recommended. And she told me, please don't tell people I recommended, because we're not supposed to do that. But, he's great. And so I've known Paul for a while. And yeah, I'm looking forward to Paul coming up with some new ideas on social media.
Right.
Yeah, so we're going to come up with a camera that does holograms.
Oh, wow.
So we could just put you.
Did you see me? I was like, oh, really? I'm sorry.
Wouldn't that be a cool
Really,
thing?
I'm so sick from that one.
We got to be forward thinking. Like, we could beam you up to the. Never mind, I don't know. But
Right.
I have been toying with the idea of doing self tapes in my lighting and stuff like that.
Right.
People have actually asked me to, and I haven't said yes yet. But I guess that and the virtual photo shoots, that's a possibility for the future.
Right.
Like you said, you have to be adapting, and I mean the one thing. Whether you're religious or metaphysical or Buddhist or even atheist, we can always count on change. Change is inevitable.
Of course.
No, definitely.
And you can resist or you can go with the flow.
Right. And I think right now
But the thing is, going with the flow, you have to retain who you are. That's the thing. Like, you don't want to go with the flow and lose yourself and just give them what they want. You have to retain your identity.
And I think going back to that's one of the things that and I love that of going with the flow, but not losing your essence and staying grounded in that process. Because I know for myself personally, that's been my growth during this time as well, has been how do we get more grounded and focused with what we're doing and saying yes to the right things and maybe saying no to other things that just weren't as necessary. And technology has helped us, thank God, because we're all here talking right now. So we can do this. But going back to the photography, one of the things that we had talked about as well earlier was when it becomes safe, let's just say, and shoots are in person or different things like that. And we don't know when that is. And in the meantime, right now, there's other aspects of technology that you're exploring, I know. But before we go there, how could a client, prepare better for their headshots? Because I know you style them, you do a lot of these things. We talked about character work. So how should somebody come prepared, whether it's going to be virtual in the future or in person for a photographer before they do their headshots?
Well, I want to say something real quick. I love when an actor shows up at Paul's with one shirt and he's like, we're doing 3 looks. And Paul starts pulling stuff from his closet. It's hilarious. You should see his face. He goes, seriously?
I would be doing the exact same thing.
It's interesting that it's interesting how a lot of people, they don't think it through. And yes, there are a lot of times where I've shot somebody and their agent wants, let's say, a commercial shot and a theatrical shot and a comedy shot. And they bring like a blue T-shirt for the commercial shot and a black T-shirt for the dramatic shot and a white T-shirt for some, I don't know. So it's like, I'm like, that's just a T-shirt. It's not 3 looks, it's 3 T-shirts. And, and it's like, everything says something. And then one of the things, I really didn't know I was going to talk about this, but one of the things that nobody thinks about is, it's like, why do you want to start everything with a clear intention? So what do you want to do? So if let's say, for example, every time I shoot somebody, let's say their agent wants a commercial shot, and I get them dressed and everything's great, and the energy is not there. And I'll say to them, you don't want to do commercials, do you? It's like, no, I really don't. It comes across. So it's like, but then, it's like, well, you have to but we're talking about that intention and still being yourself. So it's like, that saying, wherever you go, there you are.
Right.
So still bring yourself to a commercial. Don't put up like a stinky, I hate this vibe. Like, so you're like, okay, well, I don't want to be labeled as a commercial actor, but I'm going to show up and be me. And so then just instead of you change the dialogue in your head. Somebody says commercial shot, somebody say hip, cool, fun. You go, oh, that's me. So it makes, so you translate it into what resonates as positive for you.
Right.
Does that make sense?
No, it does, because it's all perspective, right? And in seizing the opportunity is what I see from what you stated, not to generalize completely, but it's what attitude are we bringing to the session we're about to be before? And I think going back to what Vince is saying as well, and I know you said earlier about when people are doing self-tapes at home or different things like that, are you working with your lighting? What effort are you putting into it to show what that is? And one of the things I would love for you to touch upon is, I know earlier we spoke briefly, was about the different types of shots that you do, whether it's to be a lead actor or supporting actor. And I think that that was something that was really key that I would love for the audience to know about today.
Well, that's the thing. It's like up the food chain. Like you usually don't start off by getting a starring role,
Mhm.
but still, you don't want to aim for the bottom.
Right.
When I say that out loud, that even it's comical. Like who aims for the bottom? Like you want to aim for the top.
Right.
So it's and to get to the highest level you can achieve. So if you're aiming for that, then you want to be a fully fleshed out person. It's like when the casting director is casting a bad guy for a small part, a headshot where you just look evil is going to be good.
Right.
And if they're looking for the lead guy who uh, has a heart of gold but comes from a troubled past and is working through, there's different things in that picture. It's kind of like a bad guy, but wait, I see like there's a warmth here.
Right.
So you want to think about that. I think some of the easiest ways of getting started, I always like people to find a prototype, and then literally it's easy to look at somebody outside yourself. So it's like if you, and then you want to pick somebody realistic, like let's say around your age,
Right.
from this era. Like there are people who relate to old movie stars. That doesn't really help you because. But anyway, so if you look at current relevant people that are similar, you might see how they're put together. Go to Google Images and see what they're wearing, not on the red carpet, that's a whole other thing, but see what they're wearing in the different movies they're in, different TV shows, and get a flavor.
Right.
Over time, I have shot a lot of people who, do they use the term made it anymore? Who made it.
Right.
And I love it. I love seeing um, even some of Vince's clients where they come in for their first headshots and their eyebrows are jacked up and their hair is awful and their skin is not great. And then like 2 years later, their hair is fabulous and their skin is amazing and their eyebrows are, and then it's like, it's like even if they're a jeans and t-shirt kind of guy, like 2 years later, the jeans are like D squared or whatever, and they have hipster jewelry or whatever that goes with it, and they become polished, but it's by working with stylists and showing up to sets all the time, and if you make friends, and then little stylist like gives you something, or whatever, or you say, "Where did you buy that?" and you you're introduced to a store you've never been to, and
Right.
there is a natural
I
evolution.
think that all actors or actresses, or quite frankly, even if you look when I started my career before at Neiman Marcus versus, when I left 15 years later, we all go through an evolution. An
Yeah,
evolution and it's a little bit of osmosis as well, right? As to
yeah.
what's happening. But I also think that's why it's also so important to surround yourself with the best teams to make sure that the image that you're cultivating is the right one. And to your point, it's where you aiming, because wherever you're aiming, you're really going to grow with that. And I just think that that to me is something that is very key in the future. It's what is the growth? Where do you want to be in 5 years? And are you projecting that now? Because
Totally.
I think
Yeah,
advice goes.
this sounds hokey because so many people say it, but it starts with that intention. But then you on the step one, what equal with step one is you have to believe it.
Right.
You can't look at it. Oh my God, I'm thinking there was a girl who's on the show. She's one of my clients. She's on the show Chicago Med, And
Uh-huh.
I remember some pivotal like advice I gave her one time that really helped a lot. But she was starting to get callbacks, and she was like, "Oh my god, oh my god, oh my god." I was like, you know what? That should be your normal day. Like normal should be callbacks, on avail, negotiating the contract. And that little shift of like that it wasn't like an isolated one callback. It was like you expect bookings, you expect
Of course.
that you expect that, and then it all kind of stems from that. And like for me, it's like sometimes the questions I ask people when I'm shooting them, I'm like, oh god, it's going to be a hard road. Or sometimes I'll ask them questions. I'm like, oh my god, this one.
Paul, I love when you ask them about actors they don't know.
Well, well, I
That's
don't know.
comical.
I don't know. I'm older, so I don't know how important it is. Like if Vince has been there. I said, you know, um, are you very familiar with actors? It's like, well, you mean old timey actors like Julia Roberts?
No, she's amazing.
I know. I'll be like,
Yeah, sorry, but it does.
yeah, okay. Julia Roberts is old timey,
I was
but
in Greta Garbo, or personally. Yeah.
but
Munoz.
so I don't know. Like
Well, are you
I have to
saying
say, most of the celebrities that I've shot are people who became celebrities,
right?
have an awareness, especially of their market. So, like,
Right.
it really frustrates me. Let's say, I don't know. Let's say I'm shooting a girl who reminds you of Jennifer Lawrence, and
Right.
she's like, "Who's that?" I'm like, "Are you kidding me?" So
Yeah.
that really, that right, Vince,
I,
you've seen that, or
I think what you're bringing up is a very good point, though. And what it is no matter what you're going to do in life, if you put your stake in the ground to go get a shot, to go get a manager, go get an agent, because that's what you're going to do. Are you studying the foundations of it? Because right now, that's a great thing to do. I just know, even from the fashion perspective, it's for us was learning the fashion history. How was that bias cut made, or what are the different technicalities that come to it? And I think to your point, when it comes to acting or different things, do you know the fundamentals of this? Not that you need to know everything about it, but do you know enough about it so you can really learn to not repeat the same mistakes? Because there's so much information out there. So to your point, we can emulate something that's greater. On that note, go ahead. But
so what happens is, I wonder. Let's say if you don't like, I don't know, if somebody says, "Yeah, you remind me of Jennifer Lawrence." Well, most people, especially young people, have a phone in their hand. You could just go Jennifer Lawrence and find her in less than 30 seconds. So it's like, but are you interested? So like to me, it makes me think like the guy with the three T-shirts, that you really don't care.
right.
And you know what, guys? It's so
Very good point.
true what Silali just said. When I'm looking at talent, even when I was an agent, the question you always ask is, "Who's your favorite actor?" And they will reply, and then I says, "Well, don't reinvent the wheel. Look into the classes they took. Look what photographers they work with, and don't reinvent the wheel. Be organic with who you are and your artistry, and let it blossom from there." So
Right.
answering to what you guys were talking about is so true. It's very simple. You don't have to make it so difficult. It's
Right.
so defined there. It's just like I always says, you don't have to reinvent the wheel. It's already there for you. It's just follow it and bring a little bit about who you are organically, and it's going to work if you put the work to it.
Yep. So my screen just changed. Am I still on camera?
You are on camera.
Okay, because now I just see Vince actually, but
I
anyway.
only see you. But continue.
Oh,
Tell your fabulous self, Paul.
so like, it is pretty simple. It's so interesting. Like when I go over with people what to wear, and I start off with some people that they can relate to. Let's say I pick three people that you can relate to, and you start looking at their images, and you're like, oh, they're all wearing a sundress with a cardigan at some point. They're all wearing jeans with a hoodie at some point. They're
Right.
all wearing something that looks couture at some point. They're all wearing something that looks like it's been worn 1,000 times. Like it's
Paul,
uh,
Paul, Paul,
you
I have
know.
a question for you because you work with all the agents in Hollywood, and there's so many. How do you make it work? Because everybody's so different. Everybody sees their clients
Oh my
differently.
God, you go
How does that
crazy.
work for you? Because that can be interesting. Because I may see something fabulous or something I like.
Yeah.
Somebody else will say that's not really my client. So how
Well,
do you?
it's hard because there are some people. Let's say they want a solid background. Some people like only dark and light, like dark and light. I'm not in the same picture, but dark backgrounds, light backgrounds. And then some people like depth and things, So it's really hard. And nowadays it's crazy because you can in post production you can change the backgrounds,
Mhm.
but I'm like, I start to get into like, why are you so focused on the background? It's so to me it's like if there's nothing happening in your eyes, then the
True.
background is really important. But if your eyes are popping, I don't even notice the background. So the thing is that, well, I think Vince used the word romantic. I like to use the word intimate. So if
Right,
I feel you intimately, I don't even notice the background.
right,
Um, so,
So see,
um, but the whole pleasing agents, it's like I was talking about small agents, big agents. Um, it's interesting. The smaller the agent, the more they almost want you to wear like a police uniform and a nurse's uniform and all that. And then up the food chain, um, like your professional, you can have your professional. Well, like let's say for example, if you're a type that's professional, you might literally pick outfits that are you at work,
mhm,
you on a date, you on the weekend. So
right,
you have the same person, but they're in different scenes in the movie.
right.
but
So
that normally happens when you're developing a client, right? Because a client that's already established, an actor does not need to do that because people know of them. That's
yeah,
only when you're developing an actor
Well,
that you
but
need them to
actually,
get
Vince,
seen.
I would honestly, right now, I would disagree from that perspective because if we're going back to New Hollywood and we're saying casting directors aren't going to always be seeing them, so the picture is, even if it, well, and it's also what's the definition of established, right? I would say if you're a priority, an Oscar winner, everybody knows about you. So that
Well,
would be my
that's what I'm
definition.
referring
Okay.
to an actor who is
No,
known as opposed to one that's not. And
right,
casting loves to be spoon fed. So if they're looking for
right,
a detective, you want to be wearing those dark colors that kind of imply that you could play that role.
right.
right. But I don't think you'd need to wear a fireman's uniform or
No.
you know what I
Right.
mean. That's too much.
It's more what is your face saying,
Right.
and how you're projecting it. And
Yeah.
I think one of the things that you always talk about, Paul, as well, it's all in the eyes. What
So
are the
true.
eyes telling the
That's
story?
so true.
Yes.
So like the thing is like taking somebody's picture. Well, you know what? It's a really interesting situation because they want me to want to shoot them, so they're extra nice. And most times I just met them, so they have to do something. That's why I have to ask questions because not everybody is just sweet and nice. Uh, that's probably not even like the best picture to get where you just look sweet and nice.
Right.
It could be one of your pictures that's just sweet and nice, but to get what's really there. Oh my God, I'm remembering a flashback. Years ago, she was only 16, but I shot Ashley Benson,
Uh-huh.
and she was on a soap opera. I don't remember what soap opera, but she played a cheerleader, and I was shooting her for about 5 minutes. I'm like, oh my God, you're gonna play the bitch. So, and her mother laughs like, oh no. And then if anybody ever watched Pretty Little Liars, yes, she did get to play the bitch,
Mhm.
but I could see it because she delivered that even with no makeup on. I could see her. I love. She's one of my. Well, we're going to talk about some of my favorites. She's definitely was one of
Yes.
the favorites
I was going to
because
ask you, tell us about some of your favorite, sessions that you've done.
well, that was one. Well, it was also very rewarding because she was on a soap opera. She played a cheerleader. Her hair was mostly in a ponytail with no makeup. And then she got a recurring arc on a show called The OC. This is 1,000 years
Mhm.
ago. And then Pretty Little Liars. Um, and so, it's not like you want to win or something like that, but I was like, I was right. I knew, I got it.
Right.
It's like, there was a girl, and it's so funny because they're not my favorite pictures, but there's this girl named Eliza Scanlon who's just in Little Women,
Uh-huh.
and she freaked me out because she was a sweet girl from Australia, but anyway, the similarity between Eliza and Ashley, Peter Facinelli was always one of my favorites. I don't know if you know who he is. He's a little older. Twilight. He was the father, the doctor on
A doctor.
Twilight. But and he works all the time. He's got movies coming out now. He was on his character died on Supergirl, but he was on Supergirl recently. But I think the through line between all of them and celebrities like Asada Ramirez or
Mhm.
so many. There's a guy who's on the show Billions, Toby Leonard Moore. They're
Uh-huh.
really, really, really present. Like
Right.
they're almost like could make me nervous a little bit. Like they're looking through me a little bit.
Yeah.
And when I see that, I'm like, yeah, this one's on the fast track. This one's
Yeah.
gonna. This one's like like a steady train. Like
Right.
We
definitely.
definitely need to do an episode of Paul and his stories with people that are celebrities right now. He has amazing stories
And
that
I have a lot of them. So like hours
he
and
Well,
does.
hours and
well,
hours.
that's good because we're almost
We're
out
out
of
of
time.
time.
I have to do another one with you just so I can get more stories from you. But I would tell you this, Paul. I'm just curious. Two things. One, while you've been in this time of reflection, what's been the one thing that you've been working on while you've been home and safe?
It's funny. I'm working on my website and adding
Uh-huh.
pictures, and it's really weird, but I've been shooting for 30 years, right?
Right.
So I was looking at older pictures, and I can see it's really interesting. You can see a shift of energy of the people over the years,
Mm.
and I think now clients are a little bit in too much of a hurry, and I feel like there are times when I critique myself that um, um, might not have let moments really fully evolve.
Mhm.
Might have like, okay, got it, moving on,
Right.
got it, move on, as
Right.
opposed to living in it for a second. A lot of actors, like I watch a lot of things about actors, and they'll say the best directors, they'll say cut, print, and the actor will say, wait, I think I've got one more take that's better, and they
Right.
do, and it's better. And I
Right.
think I've been okay, moving on a little too much.
Uh-huh.
Well, and then maybe a little too much bullshit before, like to maybe zero right in,
Right.
get to the good stuff, linger there for a second, then go.
Right. No, and I
I don't
and
know
I
if that makes any sense.
no, it does. I think for many of us, this time has gotten all of us to pause and refine. And I think that that's a perfect explanation because here's a photographer for 30 years with a great history. I mean, so many amazing actors that you've taken their picture and their headshots for. And if you are also working refining yourself, that means all of us can also refine ourselves as well. And that I think is the best trait of greatness. It's always wanting to evolve to get to the next better version of yourself. So if there's one piece of advice that, because we need to close the show, so there's one piece of advice you want to give the audience or an actor or model that's looking at getting started while they're at home and maybe getting started or reinventing themselves while they're at home, what would that be
There's a lot of things.
during this special
First,
time?
I would start at the beginning with a clear intention of what you really believe that you can accomplish, and and be true to that, and let your brand and your look and everything fall in sync with that. And I tell people to do this one assignment, and I think nobody does it. But I tell people to come up with words and phrases that define them, and stay in
Mhm.
there. And even like when they read a script, they can read the script and say, "Oh, this character has my stuff in it," and then they're going to audition for the right things. And if you're in line with your brand, and that can change. Like you could think you're like Ashley Benson thought she was the no makeup cheerleader goody goody, and shifted to like mischievous bitchy
true.
fashionista,
Right.
and it's going to change again.
Right.
But focus now on the, well, there was I can't remember what movie it was, but somebody said, what's your advice? It's like, and it was Jack Palance in some movie, and he's like this, and then the actor in the scene said, what does that mean? It's like, focus on one thing.
Right.
And
No,
that would be
definitely.
the one thing.
Well, I love it. And I will tell you, it's in focus on one thing. And, you know, as a brand strategist myself, I'm very grateful for you stating that. And that was not something that we talked about before, but I agree with you. It's all about finding your essence,
Totally.
delivering that, and always rising to the occasion. Because I think that if we all adhere to that, everything just gets so much better. And before we close X Level, I want to thank Paul and Vince for joining us today and for sharing your wonderful advice. I will tell you one thing, on behalf of ourselves, we want to wish all the mothers out there a happy Mother's Day early. Please, we honor you. We are grateful for you. I know many are wearing many, many different hats. And just know that we are thinking of you, and we wish you nothing but the best. And we hope to see you all with us next Friday. And Vince, do you want to talk about our guest next Friday?
So next week, we're going to have a casting associate from Carla's office, Alan Luna. We're going to be talking about how the industry is going to be changing and the way casting is going to be done. So for any actors out there that want to know how it's going to go down for the new way Hollywood's going to run, I would ask you or recommend that you guys tune in, because you're going to get a lot of great information from this casting director's office, because they're one of the top casting directors in Los Angeles that cast a lot of the top shows. And I'm not going to say which ones. I'm going to let him tell you, because it's going to be a lot of fun and it's going to be refreshing, and it's going to give a lot of you guys that are actors a lot of information.
All right, everyone. Well, thank you again for joining us today on X-Level Inc. We hope that you will stay, follow us, subscribe, because you never know when the next episode might be, and that we can go ahead and surprise you with something fun. And if you have any suggestions, please let us know. Talk to everyone soon.
Feliz Dia de las Madres.
Sí, feliz Día de las Madres.